Hi, everybody. It's Deanna with toolsofenergyprotection.com, and I teach highly sensitive people and highly empathic people how to navigate the energies that are on the planet. So welcome, everybody. It is the Tuesday before Thanksgiving, so I know a lot of you are traveling. A lot of you are with families, and all kinds of things are going on. Hi, Ron. It's so good to see you tonight. So today is November 20th, 2018. And if you live in America, this Thursday is Thanksgiving. And Thanksgiving, as you know, can provide us a lot of different challenges with our family members, with triggers. I mean, some of us have been doing so much work on ourselves, and we just completed Venus Retrograde on the 15th. And that was 40 days and 40 nights of looking at our shadow selves, at our darker sides, and learning to work with that side of ourselves, and learning to really release those negative energies that have been down there for so long. And for some of us, even just to recognize the patterns and the behaviors that have been down there that maybe we didn't see before. So we are now on this side of Venus retrograde. And so the question is, what's next, right? Hi, Jan. Thanks for joining us. So what is next is simply amazing. I started, hi, Belen. I started a blog that if you're here on Facebook, you will see it in my feed on my page, on my Facebook page. And it's about wisdom. And it is basically offering different forms of wisdom. Let me bring it up here. So that you can have, you can ease and grace walk into the new year. And so I will post a link. There's already one here on the Facebook feed, but I'll post a link on the YouTube for you. And I started writing that, and I was asking God, Spirit, or Source, what does everybody need to know going into the new year? What are the energies going to look like? How do we come out of the Venus retrograde? Hi, Tracy. And the answer that came is archetypes. So for those of you that don't know what an archetype is, it's a framework. They're human tendencies that people tend to fit into, frameworks. And no, I'm not talking about a sociopath, and no, I'm not talking about a narcissist. I'm talking about archetypes. So a perfectionist or a dreamer might be a couple of examples. Hi, Tracy, of what that looks like. So if you will, look here in the Facebook feed or down below if we're on YouTube, for the link for the wisdom. I'm doing 44 days of wisdom on how to move into the new year, and each day builds, and we're going to do a little step. So we're on day 3 today. So if you'll join me, you can get step 1 and 2 fairly quickly and really move forward with your life. And I promise you, they're not really scary steps. But if you wait until day 40 and try to catch up, it'll be a bit of a challenge. But let's take a look at the energy shifts that are pervasive on the planet right now and talk about those. So we finished Venus retrograde, and we stepped out of that. And last week there was a lot of unsure energy. Quite a few folks were not sure what was happening or even how to feel. And it was just weird because we had shed, a lot of us, if you think about a pop can, and when in the aluminum cans, and if you shake it up a whole bunch and then you pop the top, it goes everywhere. Well, that's what Venus retrograde was like for a lot of us. And then we, looked inside the can and cleaned things out. We decided what we could release, what we could resolve within ourselves, what we could move through, what we could work through. And then after that, it's what's left. So here's what's left. Whatever was down here that was bubbling up that you finally got out or let out or worked through, now it left an empty space within, but it only makes sense if you're speaking physics. If there can be no emptiness because there's a vacuum created. If you want to know what a vacuum looks like, go clean out one of your closets and leave some empty space and then count the number of days or hours until it's filled again. So this vacuum is rebuilding itself by looking at the framework of your particular archetype. So if you haven't looked at the blog, go look at the blog and see what archetype you are. And within that, it's accepting who we really are and looking at the positive of who we are and looking at the negative of who we are and learning to work with that. Many of us, between the time we were conceived at the age 7, received some programming that wasn't so popular. It's your neural pathways. So your body, your beautiful human body, is set up to get wired between conception and age 7. So whatever's going on around you, that's what your brain is wiring. That's why they tell you the formative years for children is so important. So if the child is surrounded with failure, negativity, not being good enough, put off to the side, that's the pathways that are in your brain right now. Those are the ones that have set you up for life, and it is so challenging to change them, but you can. It requires effort. It requires counseling. And if you can do it through a self-help book, great. Give me a text and let me know how you did it, because it's not easy. But that's what we're being asked to look at is, what is your archetype? Or there may be more than one. Are you a perfectionist? Are you a dreamer? And there's many other kinds. Are you a critical parent? I hope not. But once you look within that framework, underneath that is the positive and the negative aspect. If you think of it like a salt and pepper shaker, right? And that's what's within you. And then within that are safe boundaries with yourself. So that is where we are in time and space right now. The energy is being set to look at what are safe boundaries with yourself. If you know that you have a tendency to beat yourself up because you did a certain action, then really look at that action. You know, if you're a perfectionist and you're not giving yourself any room whatsoever to be human, you're going to be beating yourself up a lot, because guess what you're in? A human skin. A thumbs up for everybody who has human skin here that's here tonight, right? So that's what you are. You are a spirit being in a human body. And if you're a perfectionist, you've been taught that you have to live a certain way and be a certain way and always be prepared. You've got to be prepared all the time, because if you aren't prepared, you get caught without whatever you needed. Yikes. And you end up going, how could I be so stupid? You're not stupid. You're human. You're learning. You had an off day. It happens. Hi, Rosina. Nice to see you. Hi, Colleen. Nice to see you. And Tracy, happy Thanksgiving. Cherie, nice to see you. And Todd, it's great to see you as well. So let's get back to what we're talking about. So when you identify your framework, what archetype you are, what personality type you are, and I'm not talking about going on the internet and you can take the personality type test, although those some do match up to the archetypes. That includes a lot more. We're just taking the basic framework. If you were little, I can't remember the name of the toy, but when I was little, they used to have a toy that looked like number 2 pencils, and then it had a little disc made of wood, and you could stick them together and build different things. And that framework, that's what the archetypes are for the physical human form in the brain, for the neuroplasticity, the nerves that were programmed into you during childhood. And yes, there's a spirit body and you have spiritual DNA. And yes, there's different personality types, but this is the archetype. This is the framework. So there's many aspects. Focus on this one. Shiny objects. And look at that. Recognize who you are, and then recognize the restricted taboo parts of yourself. So there may be something about picking on perfectionist. something I know nothing about. But the taboo part of a perfectionist is that they will beat themselves up if they don't do what they think they can do. And it drives them. And that can be good for some inventors, or if somebody wants to scale a mountain or whatever, and that's their drive. That's great that they accomplish things, but the dark side of that may be that they neglect their families. They neglect themselves. They neglect relationships. So identifying those things and working with them. And some person who may have a lot of obligations in their family, and they choose to drive themselves in their job, and they come home exhausted, eat, go to bed, and ignore everybody, and that's how their perfectionism drives them. That's something that they might want to look at, because it's not healthy. And in a way, it's taboo for those around them. All right. Then we want to look at what's being brought forward within us as well. And having somebody on the outside to look in, because a lot of times when we're caught up in our own hamster wheel, we can't see beyond that. So even myself, I have somebody who helps me and tells me what my actions look like, what the things coming out of my mouth sound like, and reflect them back to me so that I can make different choices going forward, or not. All right, I did promise tonight to answer questions. So if anybody that's on has questions, you want to type them in the feed. Just go ahead and put the questions in the feed, and then I will answer them. If not, I'm going to go on just a little bit more and talk about some other things. So I have a very strict schedule this week because it is the Thanksgiving week, and I'd like to be with my family. However, I did allow a little time because I know some of you are post Venus retrograde, and then you're all of a sudden going into the family dynamic, and you don't want to be triggered, or you're afraid to be around certain people because they trigger you, and you don't know how not to react and cause family drama, so you'd rather withdraw. Some of you are going to isolate, which is not really positive either. And if you are needing or desiring help so that you can at least smile and sit at the family table, I am going to do something I've never done before, and I'm going to be available in Denver at the For Heaven's Sakes bookstore on Friday. It's Black Friday for those of you that live in the U.S. That's when everybody usually gets up at 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning and goes and shops until they drop. But I will be at the bookstore from, I think it's 11 to 5. And once that fills to capacity, which I'm sure it will here in the next couple of days, I can come in earlier if needed. So that number is 303-964-9493. And if you would like to make an appointment to come in person or do a phone appointment, please call the store, and they can schedule you right away and get you in before it all fills up. The other thing I'd like to offer on my website, again, toolsofenergyprotection.com, if you will click on work with me and personal sessions, there is some information about doing mediumship. And I'm bringing that forward, mediumship during the holidays, because I had a very beautiful woman that I met 4 years ago, came for her son's birthday, and he passed 4 years ago, so that she could talk to him again. And it was just a very special time to spend with her. And I'm very honored when people entrust me with that kind of relationship, because it is helpful, and it is healing, and it is nurturing. And so if you have some loved one that has passed and you would like to talk to them for the holidays, then I'm going to open up to that. And you can either book a personal session online, or if you know somebody who is open to that kind of activity and would welcome it, you can also purchase a gift certificate. So I have these beautiful gift certificates printed up, and if you purchase one online, I will send it to your loved one before Christmas. You've got to do this soon, because I've got stacks of them that I have to sign and send out. So they can get a little a session, either an energy clearing session or a medium session. But the only thing that I request in return is that the person you send this to is open to using it, because there are some people in the past that won't use the gift certificate because they're not open to energy work or mediumship. So just keep that in mind. But it is an absolute fabulous gift. And if you're looking for that gift to give somebody, that unusual gift, here you go. Anyway, moving right along. So let me get back to the feed. It looks like somebody has asked some questions. Hi to Kelly Baker. Okay, Jan says, I have a question in reference to Mercury retrograde. Is it okay to reach out to contacts in reference to looking for a job during the retrograde? Okay, Jan, that's a great question. Venus retrograde tends to work with communication. So I've had people say, oh, you know, the computer doesn't work, or my web page didn't work, or even last night I was working with my beautiful assistant to program the wisdom stuff, and we were having trouble doing the page, and I've done a little HTML coding, and so we were having some challenges with that. So finally we did get it, but it took a while, and it's something that's not, you know, really that hard. So Jan, in direct answer to your question, if you are looking for a job during Venus retrograde and you feel that you can communicate well in what your desired outcome is in that job, what you can offer to those people at that job, and you can be succinct and read the hiring manager or read the person who's doing the interviewing, then by all means, go for it. But if you're having some issues with communication and you're feeling unsure or unsteady about being able to articulate, communicate, or receive information on what job would be best for you, then I would tread lightly. But certainly there's nothing beyond God, Spirit, or Source that you cannot be helped with. So you can always ask God, Spirit, or Source to guide your job search, bring you to the right company, bring the right company to you, as you walk forward in faith, peace, and love. So I hope that helps you out, Jen. Looks like Belen says, you mentioned that we have 44 days to renew energy. New Year's Eve falls before that. Would the new year renew this energy as well? Okay, Belen, you caught me. I actually started the 44 days of wisdom so that it was synchronized. And so we did 43, I think it was yesterday, and I'm going to do 42 today. So if you'll go to toolsofenergyprotection.com, it should be up there. If not, on this page, there'll be a link to it. There's a guy standing on the grass in the sunrise or sunset, I think it's sunrise, with his arms up, and go click on that one. So the 44 days in renewing the energy, basically the desired outcome that I'm helping people with is so many people get to the New Year's resolution, they make it, and they fail year after year after year. And so the reason that I'm doing this one is to help people look within, in their mental body, their emotional body, and their spiritual body. And we're doing it in little chunks so that when you get to the new year, if you make resolution or you're going to use the new year to launch something different in your life, you'll be able to. So that's that timing. And I hope that answers your question, Belen. But the New Year renewal energy, basically we just finished Venus retrograde, which was 40 days and 40 nights of looking at our dark side. And now we're coming out on the other side, and we're putting ourselves together, basically, is what we're doing. We're rebuilding ourselves from the framework up. So that new energy is already coming in. That new energy is already available, and it's building. And to add to your question, Belen, right now we are, let's see here. Right now we are coming up on a full moon. And so when you have a full moon, if you imagine your glass being full of energy, And that's another reason we've been having challenges with sleeping. So I hope that answers your question. I know it's kind of muddled with the answer, and apologize it wasn't succinct and clear, but the 44 days are really about a mental, emotional, spiritual exercise to help people move forward in peace and ease and grace. All right, and let's see, I've got another comment down here. Thank you, Belen. Okay, Cherie, happy Thanksgiving to you. And Jan, thank you for letting me know that works for you. And Tracy says, with the archetypes, it is possible to have one that you resonate with now as well as one that you see in your past but want to release. Absolutely. Archetypes, again, are framework for the human journey. And so we all have one, and yes, they can change, because there is an archetype that Joseph Campbell talks about called the hero, and then there's one called the wise old fool. So if you've ever watched Star Wars, or you've watched any of the trilogy, sci-fi trilogies, there will usually be somebody who's called to action or adventure, and then there's a wiser, older person that will give them information to help them on their way because they've lived so many years on the planet. So at one time, Tracy, you may be the young woman heroine that's being called out on adventure, and then after 20, 30 years, you might switch and be the wise person that's doing the advising. But if you have an archetype that you wish to release, I don't know if release is the right word, because I think it's like your phone. My phone came with apps on it that I would like to delete, but they're installed on my phone and they're not deletable. So I either work with them or I don't. And in that, an archetype, a perfectly balanced archetype, can be an app on your phone that you don't have to work with, and it just sits there. I hope that makes sense. If you can give me a thumbs up, Tracy, on your comment to let me know if I answered your question. And yes, Belen, you're welcome. All right. Any other questions? If not, I'm going to go ahead and remind you that I will be at For Heaven's Sakes Books in Denver on Friday, on Black Friday. And I will do the best I can to avoid the traffic. And you can call them at 303-964-9336 to book. If you call me or you text me, I'm not going to be able to help you with that because I don't have that schedule in front of me. So if you can save a little bit of time, just call them directly. If you can't get to the store, tell them that you'd like to make a phone appointment so that at that time I can call you. You can get half-hour appointments, and you can get 1-hour appointments, and you can get longer if you need it. And Thursday I will be with my beautiful family. And then I'm taking some time off on Saturday and Sunday, just to be something that I don't often, with a little self-care, which is also important now. Tracy asked me another question. She says, you mentioned that there are more archetypes than the one in the blog. Do you have a resource that lists them all? I have a resource that lists a lot of them, but not all of them, Tracy, because there's a man named Joseph Campbell, and he talks about different archetypes in his book. He is no longer in body, but his books are still available, so you can look there. And then I will privately contact you with a resource that I use and let you know what that looks like. And other than that, you can Google them. There's a lot of information out there. Just be careful. When you Google archetypes, make sure you're looking at the behavioral personality archetypes and not the archetypes of the video games, because they do have video game archetypes. That's two separate things, although some of us might have similar traits. All right, let's see what else we have for comments. Belen says, is it okay to have several archetypes? I resonate with one, but also a little bit with others. I feel I have 4 archetypes. Yes, Belen, you can have 4 archetypes. Again, think about it as an app on a phone. You can have more than one app on your phone, but if you're texting, you're probably not using the weather app. And if you're using the weather app, you're probably not texting. So they're interchangeable, and you can have more than one. Do the best you can to balance them all out so that you can have more peace and joy in your life. And then Matthew Johnson says, yes, that's a good book. So with Joseph Campbell on it. So thank you for that feedback, Matthew. And one last time, just remember, if you would like to give a session or a mediumship energy shift, or sorry, a mediumship or energy shift to someone, I do have these beautiful gift certificates available, and you can go on the website and pay for them. And then as soon as they are that payment is deposited, then I will send out the card to the person that you would like. You can also make sure and email me or text me if you like, to let me know, so that I have all your information and can send that out to your loved one. That's all I have for tonight. Love yourself, nurture yourself, find some safe boundaries, and remember that I'm sending big hugs and big kisses to each and every one of you. If you're watching this on the replay, thank you so much for joining me that way too. Have a wonderful Thanksgiving. Be very thankful for your health. Be thankful that you live in a place where you're free to worship the way that you desire, and that you're not worrying about bombs going off in your backyard. You're not worrying about if you have safe water to drink. There's so much to be thankful for. Big hugs and kisses. Good night, everybody.